Welcome to the Political Power Hour with your host, former congressional candidate, retired federal agent, and three-time author, Michael Vilardi, highlighting today's political hot topics with the most interesting political candidates in the 2022 election. The most hard-hitting political commentary on the air today. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to tonight's show. We have a great show for you tonight. We always do something a little bit different. A couple of weeks ago, we had Stephen Grant, who was running for senator in the state of Florida. Tonight, we have with us Kyle Gibson, who's running to be the lieutenant governor in the Florida race with Ron DeSantis and Charlie Crist and Hector Ruiz. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Kyle, I know Carmen Jackie, who's running to be the governor, and you're running to be the lieutenant governor.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your platform, why you're running, and why people should vote for you.
Both of us were both candidates seeking the office of governor as NPAs in the election. There were several NPAs that ran and that filed initially. After qualifying, there was only a handful of us there, maybe 3 or 4 different NPAs. When it came down to the actual qualifying, she and I were the only 2 NPA candidates that qualified. So we kind of both ran for a while, and when it came down to announcing who our choice for lieutenant governor was, we kind of came together. We looked at the numbers. We looked at how both of us had gone. We kind of shared the fact that I had run in 2018. She was a candidate doing well, and both of us are going well. And we just began to put our efforts together. My effort was to oppose both the political parties, because I feel that sometimes both parties have good, both parties have some things that are not so good. And a lot of times candidates vote for just the party. We came together and combined our efforts and decided that we merge our efforts together. I humbly stepped aside for the one reason that there are no females running for the office of governor in this time. And I feel that it was time that this country and this state took the opportunity to elect a qualified woman to run. So I humbled myself and said that I would run as her running mate so we can combine our efforts together to do something new in 2022. And that's where we came together, and this partnership was formed for us to make a difference in this election.
All right, that's great. So let's go through. You're running against 3 other people, right?
Yes, sir.
You got Ron DeSantis on the head of the ticket, the current incumbent governor. He's the Republican. You have Charlie Crist, the Democrat, who was
a Republican and independent. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And he was, I guess, a failed governor because he didn't get reelected, right?
Well, no, he was the sitting governor, but he opted to run for the U.S. Senate. So he was ineligible to run for governor again because he had to resign to run. So he decided to run for the U.S. Senate seat, which made him ineligible to run for governor again.
Okay, and that's when he lost the Senate seat.
Yes.
Right, but he then became a congressman.
Correct.
And now he's running again to be the governor.
Correct.
Okay. And then we have Hector Ruiz, who's, I guess, a libertarian.
Yes.
Okay. So, what do you think about each of your opponents in this particular race?
I think the last 4 years, there are things that, of course, some people like about the current governor. There are things I would have done differently. The pandemic, I'm of the mindset of health should come over finances at any given time. You can't replace a human life. I probably, had I been governor at the time, would have probably left things closed a little longer to save more lives. And that's just my choice. That's my pastoral side that comes out, that looks at the humanity portion of everything, or versus just looking at the dollar. Charlie Crist was a former Republican governor, changed parties, became independent, and went back. So he goes back and forth. A lot of the issues that he ran on are some of the same things this current governor is now running on. So as far as ideology and their history, they're both the same. So in the Democrat and Republican, you really have one ideology that's running for that one seat. I believe you can change political parties, but you really don't change the philosophy that you believe in for 20 years or plus in public office.
Okay. So what are the 3 issues? If we had to break down what you and Carmen are running on, what are the 3 things that you want to see change in the state of Florida?
The one thing deals with human justice issues, and human justice follows criminal justice, having your right to have your rights restored, being treated humanely as far as immigration and being able to come into the state, even though that's a federal issue. Florida is a main state in which we have a huge immigration issue here, in which people wanting to come here because of issues in their country. With Carmen being from Venezuela and having experience immigrating to this country, that's her number one issue there, because she wants to see a fair process and people being able to come there. Me on the other side, with the human side, with criminal justice, I believe that individuals that have gotten in trouble one time in their life should have the opportunity not to wait 15 or 20 years just to get their rights to vote back. Some of the rights should come back. And those are just common issues that are not Democrat, they're not Republican, they're just human issues that come there. Education, our education system is falling more and more. I'm a former educator in Broward County and Indian River County. I'm the second generation educator. My parents are both educators. And so that's one of the things that we've come together to see, that our education system becomes second to none to any other state. When you have a strong education system in our public system, you open the doors for other businesses that want to relocate to the state of Florida. Because if you have a strong educational process or a strong educational system, those businesses that are relocating to the state of Florida have more of an incentive to come to Florida because of their education system. And I think over the last 15 or so years, our education system has not been where it should be. I think the funding starting from pre-K to third grade has not been funded like it should. And I believe that that being one of our top two items that we'll do there. Third is, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to just stop you and say immigration. Now, my fiance over there is an immigrant. Okay. There's legal immigration and there's illegal immigration.
Yes.
Now, I'm a firm believer in legal immigration because we need people. We need to do it the right way. I'm not a big believer in just letting anybody cross the border illegally, because that's when you have the human trafficking, that's when you have the drugs, that's when you have the crime.
You're right.
Okay? So, and as you said, it's a federal issue, and what they did on the federal level is basically let everybody through our border with no checks and balances, no vaccinations, no check. You're bringing in disease, you're bringing in crime, you're bringing in everything. I'm a firm believer in legal immigration, and I assume that's what you're talking about is legal immigration. Is that right?
Yes, it is there. However, you have the other issue with people who have been here for a while. It's a very, it's a touchy area, and again, my pastoral side comes in then.
Right.
If a person has been here for 20 or 30 years,
right,
and they maybe have gotten a speeding ticket,
right,
they maybe have gotten a misdemeanor arrest, something that any of us at any given time can get. That is something that I can look at as being forgivable. But if you have a long, extensive criminal record, I believe that you should be deported right away.
Absolutely, I agree.
But I think it should be a case by case to enact that those that have been here that may have came illegally. And you have to take this understanding that if you've never been to another country and understand why those individuals are fleeing, you have to have some sensitivity to understand why are so many people fleeing other countries to come here. Some are fleeing for not so good reason, but I think on those that have already been here, there should be a case by case and scenario set there that if they have contributed, if they have done things that have been beneficial to the United States and shown themselves to be good citizens, then they should be allowed to stay. If you've had some criminal issues.
Now, I was a federal agent for 22 years. I worked Russian organized crime. They were stealing the Russian organized, the mobsters were stealing the gas tax in New York. I arrested a guy once in relation to that.
Okay.
And during the process of the arrest, which takes hours, okay, he said to me, Mike, he says, we're emptying our jails and sending them all over there to the United States. And when we get on the plane, they give us a book on how to get welfare, how to get food stamps, how to tap into your Social Security system.
As soon as they get here.
As soon as they get here. Now, Castro did that too.
And other, as well as others. So, yeah, that's been a...
So these countries, like Russia, laugh at us because they send over all their criminals. They in the case with Russia, they would all basically go to Coney Island, okay, and basically took over the population of Coney Island. Those set up shop. They all got welfare. When prior to doing the organized crime stuff, we made an arrest when they were doing a bad preparers. They were basically sending in fraudulent tax returns to get refunds on credits that they didn't deserve. We go to arrest these people. We find out that they own the house cash. Everyone was on welfare. getting Social Security, disability, and all working cash off the books jobs. Okay?
That I have a problem with.
So do I.
That I have a huge problem with.
So we need really Congress to legislate so that can't happen. Congress has done a terrible job when it comes to immigration reform. They haven't stopped criminals from coming into the country.
No, they haven't.
And it seems to me like this particular administration is encouraging criminals to come into the country because they let anybody cross that border, knowing that they're bringing in fentanyl, that more people have died over the last couple of years because of fentanyl than ever before. Human trafficking has gone through the roof. The cartels, I mean, just love this guy because he created a situation for them to make millions of dollars, and we sit back and do nothing.
One thing is you don't have to create new laws. There are strong enough laws that
Right.
if they're just enforced,
Yeah.
and like you simply said there, so we don't have to recreate laws if they're simply enforced. If we, hire more agents in those areas that we know they're coming around and enforce that, it makes it's an easy sell. You catch them at the border. But what happens is there are some countries that the entrance is a little less complicated to get in the country than others.
Right.
And I think that once you make it fair and make the same rule for everyone, for instance, with Cuba and Haiti. In
Right.
Cuba, if you can make it, and they train them, if they can make it to the dry land, then they're able to stay. Versus other,
Right.
dry land,
Right.
wetland,
Right.
versus people coming from other countries, even if they make it on dry land, they turn around and send them back. And that's where the humanity parts gets in there and everything. You don't want to turn a person down because they're fleeing a situation that's so just diverse that, some of us can't even explain that or even imagine that being here in the United States. But if we just simply enforce the laws that are already on the books instead of doing a, turn the other cheek kind
Right.
of situation. But it's complicated because, again, there's so many wide areas, not just on the southern border, but you have to look at the northern border that we don't really talk about.
Right.
That's
true.
not as heavily watched as much,
That's
but
right.
but just as many people are coming in from the northern borders where you have those wide open vast of spaces there, and then once they come in unannounced, if they stay under the radar, if they work under the tables, for the most part, we never know they're here until sometimes a criminal act comes, they have to go to court, and of course, the fraudulent use of the, I think with, if there was a system put in place to check an individual that applied for welfare to apply citizenship to it, that would be one easy way to eliminate that problem.
Well, now you said something interesting. 9/11. On 9/11 itself, I happened to be in Suffolk County working with the Suffolk County PD, their intel, because I was working organized crime cases. And that particular day, we got a call about some very suspicious Mideastern men at a restaurant. So we went out, I went out with them, okay? And we picked these guys up and we brought them back for interrogation. And they were Pakistani, but they were Canadian citizens. Subsequently, I did a TV show with a guy named Zachariah Anani. Zachariah Anani was basically, I guess we would call him a jihadist.
Okay.
He had killed 234 people committing jihad.
Wow.
Okay. And then he went to Canada.
Now, I have a question, because normally when they commit jihad, they normally take their self out. So how did he?
Because he was with an Islamic group, and they give you credit for whoever you killed, you get credit for it. You know what I'm saying? And he was on. I did 4 television shows with him, and ultimately became friends with him. The guy was, pretty amazing. He knew everything about knives, metallurgy, different type of knife, the wound it would cause. Crazy stuff. He became a Christian.
Okay.
So he turned from his wicked ways, so to speak. But Canada, rather than Canada would give them citizenship in the hopes, and it's worked so far, that they don't commit terrorism in that country. So you have all these people who are from the Mideast, who cross as Canadians
into the States.
and you're looking at, oh, he's Canadian.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point that I was looking at.
Yes,
That
exactly.
you don't hear that mentioned as much as you do
don't.
the southern border.
Right.
But just as many people are coming in, and
That's
they're
right.
doing it in a sophisticated way.
Absolutely, right, because no one looks at the Canadians being a threat.
Exactly.
Right. And nobody knows that they've let in so many. I mean, Zach actually got a pension from Canada.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
He got a pension from Canada. And, he died in 2016. But he had a very unique story. Very unique story. And he was from Lebanon. He was Lebanese. And it's just amazing how, I was amazed myself, how Canada could just let everybody in, give them Canadian citizenship, and it actually works for them.
You mentioned something earlier about the borders.
Yeah.
From the inception of our country, England, the
Yes.
first people that came from England were, of course, the aristocratic and the rich. But however, the ones that came here were not the best of society that came out of England. It was, they basically released their jails and brought
Right.
those here to work
Right.
in order to make a better life and everything there. So every country, well, not every country, I won't say that, that would be prejudicial, but a lot of countries have pushed off their not so wanted in their country on the United States.
Right.
And there have been times that we have put restrictive rules there, but those rules were restrictive to certain people,
Right.
and not restricted to other people.
Right.
And that has allowed a lot of issues that have
Right.
been problematic. I just think if you have a fair immigration rule across the board, and you enforce the rule from the federal level, it allows the state law enforcement to also enforce. But the problem comes when state law enforcement officials are enforcing a law that the federal comes in, and you have that balance there in that battle,
Right.
where both are trying to find out, well, who's the strongest and who's the biggest and baddest.
Right.
And in my opinion, it should be that both agencies, federal, state, and local, should all be coming together to ensure that no one's going to cause harm. And you're using those different areas, those different resources. But unfortunately, that does not happen as much as we want to.
Right, no, and I agree with you on that point, no question about it. So what else are your other main issues? And Florida, a lot of people are moving to Florida because we don't have an income tax. Would you keep it that way?
Yes, I would. That's an
Okay.
issue that has come up since I was an undergraduate in college. Should Florida do a sales tax? You don't have to, because of the many attractions, the scuba diving, and everything that Florida offers.
Yes.
The sales tax allows us to
Yes.
allow people to come here. And I believe if you added a sales tax, you would have so many people to leave and go to somewhere like Arizona or
Right.
some other state.
Right,
So,
right.
in an administration there, we both agree on that we have
Yeah.
no interest in inducing a state tax or
Right.
anything of that sort.
Right, no
but,
income
but
tax, right,
maintaining
exactly.
just like it is there.
Yeah, we have a surplus. We have a surplus. I mean, because we have an influx of people, the economy's doing well, we have a surplus, which is great.
And we have this wonderful sunshine.
Yes, we do. We have the wonderful sunshine. I mean, California, they always run deficits. New York's always run deficits. They have the highest taxes, and they can't seem to pay their bills. But here in Florida, we have among the lowest taxes, and we do very well. And I'm glad to hear that you want to keep it that way, because that's very important.
Florida's a unique state. The last 20 or so years, Republicans have gradually maintained to come and change the balance of power in the
Right.
state of Florida. So Florida is really now essentially a true swing state when you look
Yeah.
at it. There's about 80,000 votes difference between Republicans and Democrats now, which changed over the last gubernatorial election.
Right.
But there's almost 4 million NPAs that are registered in the state. So when
Right.
you look at those numbers there, a vast majority of Republicans are registered Republicans, but they don't necessarily vote a straight Republican ticket. A vast
Right.
majority of Democrats are that way. I believe will vote for a candidate that they
Right.
can identify with instead of going there. And so one of the things that we thought together as running as NPAs, a vast number of NPAs are both,
Right.
they go both for it. There are 16 counties in Florida right now that MPAs are the second largest political party. So you have like Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, it's Democrat, MPA, Republican.
Right, that's true.
On the West Coast, you have Collier, Lee, and Charlotte County. So you have Republican, NPA, Democrat. There are 16 counties that affect like that in the state of Florida, which shows that Florida really has an opportunity, and the right team of MPAs that come together can really make a difference in this election.
Absolutely.
This can make a big difference.
Well, we got 2 minutes. So in the 2 minutes, please tell the people how they can get in touch with you, how could they send money to you, how they could support you, why they should support you, why they should vote for you.
since we're running as a team, if you go to carmenforflorida.com, that is our website. Also, I've left mine up and have made the adjustment for Lieutenant Governor at KC4Governor2022.com. If you go on both of those pages there, they're kind of merged together, so you'll see my social media, you'll see Carmen's social media. There's 4 candidates, but you look at the time and you see that there's only been 2 candidates that get all the press time. I'm very thankful for shows like Mike that allowed this opportunity to come and present ourselves to let the state of Florida know that there is another choice. There's not just 2 choices you see on all the commercials, but there's a different choice. Take the time to read about all of the candidates, and you may find yourself voting a different way. We just ask you to do something new in 2022. Carmen Jimenez, Kyle Casey Gibson want to serve you in this next election.
Well, we always enjoy having third-party candidates or NPA candidates on because you don't get the time. You don't get the ability to get out there, and it's really important that you have a forum.
And we are deeply, when I say deeply appreciative of that, you'll be surprised how many shows just won't even give you the opportunity.
Right.
In the last 4 elections the last election, I was told that whichever NPA candidate had the highest polling and the most money would be on the debate. Well, the last 2018 election was a surprise because Adam Putnam was expected to be the gubernatorial winner,
That's right.
and Gwen Graham was expected. And so you had 2 brand new people to come out of nowhere.
Right.
And they essentially just said, we're only going to let the Democrats or Republicans speak. I think that was unfair. And so, Mike, I am deeply appreciative. Carmen and I are both appreciative that you've allowed us this opportunity to give the people of Florida an opportunity to see that there's another choice.
Yes, and again, that's what this show's about, the political power. We want to bring different candidates. We want to give you a different perspective so people could see all the candidates, really, because that's what it's about. I know how tough it is. I had to run for Congress myself. And unless you have all the money, it's really hard to get people to put you on the show. You can't. I couldn't even get an audience with Trump. I mean, he wouldn't respond to my, even though I was a Republican running in the primary to be his congressperson.
He just wouldn't.
Okay, because I didn't have the money, I didn't have the funding, and funding becomes
an issue,
a real issue.
Yes.
I mean,
very.
I mean, what are you guys doing for?
One of the things we're doing, most people don't have, the average person doesn't have thousands of dollars to just throw around.
Right.
So what we've asked every one of our friends, everybody that's on there, to make a contribution of $20.22. That's something even a person that's unemployed can make a sacrifice and give. And you could either have 4 or 5 people to give millions of dollars, or you can have thousands of people to give $20.22. And that way, when you're elected, nobody can come to you and say, you owe me this because of the money I gave you. You gave a $20.22 contribution, and we go from there. One of the mottos we use is we're not multi-billionaires, we're not multi-millionaires, we're not even multi-thousandaires. We are both multiple hundredaires that want to do something well for the state of Florida.
Well, I think that's a very noble, it's a noble idea, no question about it. And I think I give you a lot of credit for stepping up because, you're taking on an incumbent governor who probably raised hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, actually, we run against 2 former governors, so it's 2 Goliaths.
Right, exactly.
But we have 2 slingshots.
Right, exactly. I mean, Chris has raised a lot of money. The Democrats are going to come in and fund him well, even though he was a Republican.
Yes.
I mean, but he's. I mean, have you seen his commercials?
He's very good at what he's very charismatic,
right.
And so he's
and he sold out for Joe Biden in the biggest way possible. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't want to see Joe Biden's politics in Florida because the Green New Deal has cost us. Inflation is higher than it's been since Jimmy Carter was in office. Gasoline's through the roof. We're seeing the stock market tank. We officially went into a bear market 2 weeks ago. 401ks are getting crushed, and now you're going to have 87,000 new IRS agents just
to come there. One of the things I feel, if you're consistent, I can get behind you.
Right.
If you have been one way, the same way the whole time of your career,
right.
But when you flip-flop on the same issues multiple times, when you flip-flop on issues depending on which
right.
camera's there, that shows that, you're really not able to be, your word is not be able to be trusted.
Exactly, right. Mm-hmm.
But I just think, your word should be your bond.
I agree.
Say what you mean what you say.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't think anybody put in for doubling the size of the Internal Revenue Service as a way to squeeze the American taxpayer. And I think that's going to backfire because the economy is so fragile right now. When you enter into a bear market like we have, and then you're going to basically quadruple the audit rate. You're going to be looking at everybody, and it's expensive for people to have to get representation.
To buy a tax attorney or a tax consultant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's good for me because that's what I do.
What you do.
But I mean, it's not good for the American public, and it's certainly not good for the middle class, especially the lower middle class. So when you start to just look, they're gonna target, go after realtors, right? Because what do? They travel a lot, so they're gonna check everybody's mileage log. Waitresses, waiters, everybody that relies on tips.
They're going to come after.
They're going to come after.
I'm a scuba instructor. Same thing there comes in there. So,
Right,
they come by
exactly.
and tips, they're going to look at that. So those are things that I
Right.
really look at. And, I can say both parties make some good decisions. They make a lot of bad decisions.
Right.
I believe if a person goes and votes for the person
Right.
and not the party, you've noticed most people see the purple. The reason
Yes.
we have purple is because when you merge red and blue together,
Okay.
you get purple. And so that's what we're looking at,
Okay.
making Florida a permanent
Right.
purple state.
So that has your name on it, 2022 for governor.
Yes.
I like it.
But it was prior to the point.
Of course.
Now it's
Of
lieutenant
course.
governor, but this is while I was a candidate though. But now we're both together, so I do have one coming up that'll have an LT put in there, so we can both identify
Nice.
ourselves. But we both
Very nice.
identify with the same colors, and so plus it's a roll color.
Right.
So,
It is. Well, that's
And
a
it looks
great
nice
idea.
on me, so.
It does. It looks good on you. Absolutely. And how long have you run for office? How many?
I first ran for governor, and I filed in 2010 for the 2014 election.
Okay.
I qualified for the 2014 election, but shortly after that, right after qualifying, my baby brother Christopher
Okay.
was killed in a car crash.
Oh, wow.
A couple of weeks after his funeral, both my mother and wife were diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
And then my daddy had a stroke.
Wow.
So I withdrew from the 2014 race.
Wow.
I withdrew from that race. I was just a little, going from Tallahassee to Fort Lauderdale, trying to go in there. And I refiled again in 2018, but this is a childhood aspiration since I was 8.
Well, listen, Kyle, it was great having you on.
Thank
the
you,
show.
Mike.
And we appreciate you. And I'm going to give you some time on radio and other.
I appreciate that. And Jackie will be able to probably make the next one sometime, but we both couldn't be at the same place at one time.
No,
so.
and I get that, and I appreciate you guys, and thank you. We'll be back with Peter. Peter Arianas is going to be our next guest, and he'll be up after the commercial break. Thank you for watching the Political Power Hour. It was great to have Kyle. Kyle,
Thank you, Mike.
get in touch with him at
Kyle at KC4Governor2022.com or Carmen Jackie for Florida.com.
excellent. See you after the break.
Tax alert! Tax alert!
I was receiving letter after letter from the IRS.
I got Mike Vilardi on the phone and I said, Mike, I got a problem.
He took the pressure off my shoulders.
He just made me feel like I had Superman on my side.
Trust me, he's the man to go to.
IRS problems? I'm Mike Vilardi, enrolled agent. I can help. My company, Winning Tax Solutions, has always gotten our clients the best possible results. Visit us at winningtaxsolutions.com or call us today.
I grew up in a home where principles and values were very strong. We had the opportunity to gather 1.5 million people to stand up and be the voice for our children. As an American, I will be your new voice and I will stand up for the integrity of our children. This November 8th, vote for me, Dorcas Hernandez, running for State Representative District 92.
If your family is suffering from inflation and high costs caused by Lois Frankel's reckless policies, Republican Dan Franzese is clearly your best choice for Congress. Dan is a successful businessman who understands finance and economics. He's not a politician. Dan grew up blue collar and knows how tough inflation is on working families. Dan Franzese will go to Washington and fight the liberals who are killing us with inflation. Dan Franzese for Congress.
I'm Dan Franzese, and I approve this message.
You've been watching the Political Power Hour with Mike Vilardi. For more information, email us at mikevilardi@gmail.com. That's Vilardi with one L. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. Well, we got Peter Arianas here. Peter, welcome to the Political Power Hour. Great to have you.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Peter was a congressional candidate. He ran like I did 2 years ago, and I give him a lot of credit because it's tough to run in a very crowded field, which you did, in a very Democratic district.
Yeah.
So, Peter, we want to hear your story, how you ran, what made you do it, what your experience was like.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, man, we don't have enough time to do the whole story,
Right,
so I'm just going to tell. I'm trying to give you the Reader's Digest version.
Okay.
I came to run for this race because I just kept seeing that something needed to be done, and through some encouragement, maybe some divine intervention, if you want to call it, I decided to run, and it's been. Wow, a very educational journey for sure, without a doubt. Some of the things I've learned, I mean, I knew politics was dirty. I mean, I knew it.
Right, of course.
But I never expected it to be as dirty as it was. And the funny part is I came into this with the notion of I'm not going to be dirty like them. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to run a good race. I'm going to run on the facts. I'm going to run on not muddying up anyone else. I mean, granted, I had if I needed to, but I mean, I'm one of those people who you got to really push me a long way before I do something like that. I just didn't want to do it. I said, no, we need to change the way politics takes place. So, and I just kept going in that direction, and I think I did pretty good.
I think you did well too. I mean, there was one particular candidate that went out of her way to hit everybody as hard as possible, and I think that was the biggest issue.
Not everybody, because there was one person she left out.
That's true. So. Right, that's true. That's true. No, I think you ran a very clean race, and I think you were well liked. I think you did well. I think as you know, with politics, it comes down to money.
Yeah.
It comes down to money, and it plays a bigger part than people realize. But you know what? I think we do. Thankfully, we have a great candidate in Dan Francis, who and I'm happy to see that a lot of the people who ran against him, have come on the show and are supporting him. We had Carrie Lawler was on the show a couple of weeks ago. You're on the show tonight, because we need to flip this district. I mean, if we don't take back Congress in 2022, as for the Republicans, they'll take back Congress in 2022. Yeah. I think the Titanic is about to sink.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have a $30 trillion debt.
Yeah. We
have people crossing the southern border like there's no tomorrow. As we were talking about in the last segment, we have you double the size of the IRS. We're going to be going after everybody and their mother. Everyone's going to have a personal IRS agent to call on. I don't know how we survive that.
I do not think we can survive it, but there is a way to fight it. I can remember the very first speech I gave at an RSC when people were coming up to me and they were not necessarily encouraging, but not necessarily discouraging. But the one thought I kept thinking is we need to be positive. We need to know that we can change it. One of the first things I said to everyone, they thought I was out of my mind, but I told them it's coming, whether you like it or not.
Right.
We need to work together. We need to. It's a red county. We just don't know it yet.
Right.
And people are still fighting it. I'm like, no. Even the people who aren't red, okay, the ones who are not Republicans are saying the same thing. We're tired of this. It's not just the Republicans. It's not just the MPAs. It's not just the Democrats. They're all we the people, like the Constitution says. We the people are getting tired of this. You've seen the bumper stickers. We're pissed and we've had enough. And that was the one message I was hoping I can get through during my campaign, and just said, hey, we need to work together. I've said it a dozen times. We need to lock arms and get as many people to the ballots, so to the polling places, and make sure we write these ballots and make sure that we are the people whose voice needs to be heard. Because you sit home, do nothing, you deserve everything you get. But the ones who are starting to wake up, and there are a lot of people waking up right now, they are getting the notion that this is it. We need to do something now. And now is the time. Like I said, you hear great candidates. And like I said, throughout the whole campaign, we need to find the best candidate and we all need to back him up.
Right.
And that's what we do. Like I said, I told Dan, and Dan's a friend. I said to him, I said, listen, if it's not me, I hope it's you. And then, like I said, and that's what's happened.
Right. No, and I give you a lot of credit because you know what? First, two things about you that I really like. One is you did keep your head above the fray. You were intentional about not doing anything dirty, no dirty politics. You ran a very strong campaign that way. You ran on what you were going to do, and you were very well liked. You have a lot of charisma. People loved you, and I think that's another great attribute also. And the fact that you after losing, you're able to get behind the guy that won, which I think is absolutely necessary. We are in a Democratic county, and the only way we could win it is if there's unity on our side of the fence.
Right.
Plus, getting people who are in the middle,
and
even some of the people on the other side who say, you know what, I'm tired of my electric bill almost doubled. Okay, my gas for the car literally more than doubled. Food prices are up 40-50%. It's ridiculous. You can't buy a steak anymore. I remember going to this one particular place, and it was for years $19 for the steak.
Right.
$29 as soon as shortly thereafter. I mean, can't get baby formula. Can't get. I mean, we're like some third world country all of a sudden.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Let me tell you something. I'm a single guy. I have 3 kids, and to tell you that not to promote myself, but it was my birthday this weekend. I turned 59. Happy birthday. Thank you. I turned 59, and my kids wanted to take me out for dinner. Right. And all I kept thinking is like, I know what it cost me to pay for for 4 of us. It was going to be at least $100, and all 3 of my kids are in college.
Right.
And I'm thinking, guys, I can pay for this. Don't worry about it. No, Dad, this is on us, and I love them to death. But they even see it. They know. They're like, with gas. You know the story that part of my campaign was going to the gas station and pumping my gas, and how I got mugged at the gas station.
Right.
And I got to tell you something. How many people have approached me? Democrats, Republicans. They didn't make it. I don't care what your background is. People hear that story and they'll come up to me and say the same thing. I was robbed too. I was mugged at the gas station too. Because look, I put a tank of gas in my car. I don't think it's got a big tank, but $75. That's a lot of gas, man. That's and that's once a week. So it feels like you got mugged, and people are encouraged now. That's why when I hear candidates, like who are out there saying we need to change this, listen. The people in charge now, the knucklehead in charge, the resident in the he's not. I don't even think he's been in the White House, but even that knucklehead is. I think they have a plan to destroy our country. I really do. I was saying the other day. I keep hearing. I just saw it the other day. The U.S. Army has missed their goal of recruitment by 25%, and I thought, hold on a second. We just made public that our military is getting weaker.
Exactly right.
I said, and these guys if they're out to destroy this country, why not make the people broke, the military weak, and make it so that we can't fight back. And why? Because they want to destroy the Constitution. And I thought myself, look at that, one piece of paper, the strength that one piece of paper has. They want to destroy that paper, but they can't physically do it. So they'll destroy the people to try to get it. But guess what? There's a lot of people backing that paper up. I was one of them. I know there's a lot of candidates feel the same way. We the people are last line of defense. And that's what we have to do. We all got to show up at the ballot boxes, and we just got to vote. That's it.
No, and listen, I ran myself, and I give you a lot of credit for running. It takes a lot. It's cost you personally. I mean, my revenues dropped prodigiously. I mean, to like 1/8 of what I was bringing because I couldn't work.
Yeah.
Because I was running for office. And I'm still trying to build the business back from that. And last year, I did a little, I doubled what but now I got to double it again. I'm still not where I was in 2018. And I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there. And I remember when President Biden became president, and he started, the first thing he did was we killed the pipeline. And I remember going to the gas station, watching it go up and up. And at the time, I had a Toyota Camry, and it was a nice car, and I was getting 29 miles to the gallon. I went in for service, and, it was, I was about 3 years old, the car, and just just the warranty was going to start to expire. And I went to look at new cars. And this is right before you couldn't get them.
Sure.
And it was funny, they had a hybrid Avalon they couldn't get rid of. I said, that's the car for me. I went from 29 to 42 miles to the gallon, okay?
But you're glad you made that decision.
I certainly am, because after I bought the car, you couldn't get those cars.
Yeah.
Because gas went to $5,
Sure.
and then people are like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm like going, so I stopped getting angry every time I filled it up.
Of course.
Because now I get 42 instead of 29. But thank God I saw that train coming.
Yeah.
But the train I didn't see coming was the rental increases here in Palm Beach County.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I literally got priced out of where I
Oh,
was
yeah.
living. 42% average rental increase.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
crazy.
going to be moving and buying a house,
Sure.
but that never would have happened if it wasn't for Biden's failed policies that
Oh,
have caused
for sure.
this inflation. Not only the inflation, the interest rates.
Yeah.
I mean, the interest rates are going to stop people from buying homes.
Of course. And now how are you going to save money to put a deposit? Yes, I agree with you.
And that's why, Pete, I'm so proud of you for getting behind Dan in this race, because we need to flip this seat.
Yep.
If we could flip this seat, we take Congress back.
Yep.
We're 3 seats away. They have a 5-seat majority. That means
yeah.
3 people switch. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, and in every midterm election in the last 100 years, the party in power has lost seats.
Right.
We only need them
Right.
to lose 3 seats, and the Republicans take over.
For sure. For sure. I mean, we talk about the red wave, and throughout throughout the campaign, I kept saying no, it's not going to be a wave. It's going to be a tsunami. I said no one is happy with any of the policies that are going on. No one is happy with where they are financially.
Right.
No one's liking the future. And the people who are, and I'm not going to say that you're old, but older guys like me,
Right.
all right, we're thinking about our children. Now,
Right.
I don't have grandchildren yet, but I want to have grandchildren. And right now, there are a lot of people concerned about what's going to happen to the grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have? I keep looking at my future grandchildren and thinking, are they going to have the same opportunities that we're going to have? I want them to have, like, look, I've had 8 separate businesses. I've had 8 different businesses, okay? I've had jobs, okay? Because
Right.
I've hustled. I was a hustler. I come from New York, just like you.
Right.
And I've always been a hustler,
Right.
all right? I'm like, and my kid's going to be able to do that? Are they going to say, I want to do this? My daughter's already doing that. She's already getting ready to start a business. She's doing a couple movies. She's singing her album. By the way, if you want to listen to a
Right.
great album, my daughter Gianna is coming out with a great album in a couple
There you
weeks.
go.
Okay, and she's a hustler like
Right.
her dad, and so are my boys. And all I keep thinking is not just my kids, but what about your grandchildren? What about their grandchildren? What about everybody else's grandchildren? What are they going to have? What are we going to leave them? Our forefathers had enough hindsight to leave us that Constitution and say, you guys are the ones who got to fight for this. You're the ones who got to put up or shut up. And right now, looking at that Constitution, how much strength that one little piece of paper has, man, I'm proud to be part of this country. I'm proud my parents immigrated here legally, okay? And I
Right.
was born here, and I was born an American Spartan, but I'm still an American first. So, yeah, I'm excited to know that we have people like Dan Franchise who
Yes.
are going to go out there and do what they can and say, look, this is what we need to do. He's bringing some expertise. I told him if he needs me, I'm here for him. Like I said, but like I said,
Absolutely.
the fact that he's standing up and he's putting a lot on the line, he's got a wonderful wife who supports
Yes.
him terrifically. He's a good guy. Like I
He
said,
is.
we became
Good guy.
friends immediately, right from the beginning, and we took we agreed at the very beginning. Neither one of us are going to do anything muddy or dirty or anything like that.
Right.
And
Right.
I think we both held pretty true to this. Like I said.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's been an interesting race.
No, it has. I mean, listen, he has a great financial background. I mean, Lois spends money like it's going out of, like it's water.
Sure.
I mean, she spent. I think she's number 2 in Congress for spending money. That's problematic. We have a $30 trillion debt. I mean, how do you get out of that? The only way you can get out of that is, first of all, you got to stop spending.
Yeah.
And all they do is spend more and more and more.
Sure.
I mean, and doubling the size of the IRS to squeeze the middle class is not the answer.
No.
I mean, the answer is a pro-growth, strategies, cutting tax rates, giving people an incentive to make money, and keeping it, and spreading that money. What do wealthy people do with their money? They have to spend it.
Sure.
Right, and that helps all the businesses, right?
Listen, it's been interesting to see what both sides of the fence is like, and I mean in the business sense.
Right.
Okay, like I said, I had 8 different businesses. I knew that if they gave me a chance to take some breaks on taxes, I knew I could hire more people. In essence, brings them more tax money.
That's right.
But I was able to see how. Right. And then I was fortunate to be employed by the federal government, which I'll say fortunate because I needed the job at the time. But in my time there, I got to see the makings of how government works, and to see how much money is wasted, how much we could save by doing things that we would do in the private sector, but they weren't because they weren't the private sector, okay? And to see it and to live it, it just angered me because I kept thinking, I'm paying taxes when I was on the other side for this. So yeah, a lot of that's going to stop. I sincerely think, like I said, Dan's going to do that. I really hope, like I said, he holds true to his word. And like I said, once he gets there, because we need to win that seat first. We need to get behind him in every single way and say, look, we need to win this. We need to get her out, and we need to give the majority back to us so we can defeat this knucklehead in the White House. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is during the last election, they changed the rules of the game because of COVID. There was a lot of anomalies. Okay, like statistically impossible things happened. Like in Philadelphia, 240,000 ballots came in, just Joe Biden, no down ballot, not one vote for Trump.
Right.
Now he was up 700,000 on election night, and then all of a sudden, it's just statistically impossible for that to happen.
Sure.
Unless you have, all those Civil War veterans who, decided to mail in ballots, and they always vote Democrat. But anyway, that being
Dead or
said,
alive.
right, exactly. The point is, we want fair elections.
Yeah.
We want honest elections.
Yep.
When you spend your time, your money, your effort to run, you want to make sure you have a fair chance.
Yeah.
And I think in order to do that, you need certain things in place. You need voter ID in place. You need to be able to you need clean voter rolls.
Sure.
I had a friend of mine who was a federal agent, and he was a junior, and he went to vote in New York. And when he showed up, he noticed his father had signed in before him.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, that's not my father's signature. The guy says, don't worry about it. He says, what do you mean don't worry about it? My father's been dead for 5 years.
Yeah.
But he was a registered Democrat, and guess who he voted for?
Right.
Okay. So.
Yeah. Oh, I see it. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's too many anomalies, and again, we got to get back to, we got to start holding people responsible and accountable for what's happening. Because you know what? There's a lot of groups up throughout Florida, throughout the country, who are finding problems with the elections, whether it be the 2020, whether it be the midterms, whether it be the primaries, whatever. They are finding it. But who are we going to get to hold them responsible? The people they found, once they found what's wrong, where do we bring it? Who is going to be the person who says, you know what, you're under arrest? That. We need to find that. Now, I know you're retired, so you can't do that. But like I said, maybe some of your old buddies can hop in and do this and say, look, we need to put these, we can't allow this to happen, man. We can't have it. The basis of how this country was built was on elections that the people get to vote for their leaders, the ones who they want to lead, who they're going to represent. So.
But remember what Stalin said. It's not who votes that counts. It's who counts the votes that count.
Yeah, well, I think Biden said that too, so I'm just saying.
Right. In California, when they recalled Newsom, people were going to vote, and they were told they already voted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what does that tell you? It's a problem with a one-party state. You don't want a one-party state, and you certainly don't want, you see what happens when it's total Democrat rule, whether it be New York or California, it's a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
The crime in the city of New York right now is through the roof like never before. I can't remember it this bad since Lindsay was mayor in the 70s.
Oh, a long time.
That's a long time ago. For 20 years, they had Republican governors. They had Giuliani, and then they had Michael Bloomberg, who became a Democrat. But he kept all Giuliani's policies in place.
Sure.
So for 20 years, New York City was the greatest city in the world. I used to go there a week a year with my friend Joe Tringali, and because we're college buddies, and we'd meet in New York and spend the week and have a great time. Go see the shows, go see the Museum of Natural History, all that stuff. He called me up a couple of years ago, says, we're never going back to New York again. I'll come to Florida.
Oh, yeah?
And I said, yeah. Doesn't make any sense. You're going to take your life in your hand going on the subway?
Listen, my sister's up there right now, and my brother. And my sister works in I think, Brooklyn or close enough to the city.
Yeah.
And she's like, Peter, it scares me. I said, don't go. She goes, I'm not. I will never go anywhere in New York City without someone, but I try never to go. It's scary.
Right.
It's absolutely scary. So, I'm hoping she will become a Florida resident very soon. So I'm hoping I get my whole family down here.
Well, listen, Bill de Blasio defunded the police $1 billion.
Yeah, what an idiot.
Okay? Well, yeah. I mean, you took away the police's ability to protect the public.
Sure.
Now the cops are leaving. I get the New York Post delivered to my house because I'm a Yankee fan, so I like following the Yankees.
There you go.
Okay? Colorado is advertising for police. They're saying, come here to Colorado. We'll take care of you. Be appreciated. You'll be, and they're going after NYPD officers. And Florida's doing the same thing. All these other states are saying, hey, why stay up there?
Sure.
In that hellhole, come to us. We'll take care of you.
Yep, and that's how it should be, man. Listen. I know we appreciate our police department. We appreciate all of them because you know what? They keep us from falling into anarchy.
Right.
And right now, what's happening in California, what's happening in New York, man, it saddens me because, listen, I still love saying I'm from New York because that's the coolest thing. Listen,
right.
That's the coolest place to be from. But
Right.
I'm embarrassed sometimes to hear what goes on up there and keep thinking, man, how much longer am I going to have that pride to say I'm from New York when you start hearing what's going on up there?
Exactly.
It's got to change. We need to shore it up. But that's why I keep thinking that's brilliant on Colorado's, man. So we got some good cops up there. Why not take them? Why I'm down here if we could get them, Why not?
Yeah, they're walking out the door, retiring, just leaving the job. You put your life on the line, and for what? I mean, you arrest a murderer, and then there's no bail.
Right.
Okay. Now, I just want to bring up something that maybe you've heard about in the state of Illinois. They passed a no bail law that goes into effect in January. Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard bits and pieces of it. Yes.
Okay.
It's not. It's scary what I think is gonna happen.
You can kill a person.
Yeah.
And get a death ticket.
Right. And you can go. We'll call you. Yeah. That's.
I mean, this country we've gotten so far from right and wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's mind blowing.
We were just discussing it today. I feel like I live in an upside down world.
Exactly.
Like good is bad, bad is good.
That's
I'm
exactly
like, what is
right.
going on?
Yeah.
Evil is with the right way and good is the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. People are starting to wake up, and we've had enough of this crap, man. All of us.
Yeah, it feels like we're in the end times. There's no question about it.
Yes.
Yeah, the biblical times are upon us. I mean, right is wrong, wrong is right. I mean, the Bible says that God created the male and female, and yet they found 32 genders.
Yeah.
I don't know how they find 32 genders. So I heard some woman, they asked her in a congressional hearing if she believed men can get pregnant.
Yeah.
And she said yes. Men
Right,
can get
flat
pregnant.
out. Yeah, I remember.
Now, unless you're watching the movie Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, okay, or unless you have a sex change operation, you still got the female parts. How else? I mean, you just don't have the equipment.
Right. All of a sudden, biology doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
Come on.
I mean, we've wow. Yeah. Common sense has left the building.
It's done. But I believe it's out there. I have to. I'm a rose-colored glasses kind of guy. I still believe there's hope. I still believe we can shore this ship up and we can get it back on track.
Yeah.
Again, by the grace of God and with His guidance. Yes, I firmly believe it. And I still believe it. And I still want to believe it. Like I said, in my heart, because the depression you can fall into, and that's happened to a lot of people. Like, you got to believe that there's a way back. And you know what? With enough people fighting, I believe we can get back on the right course. I believe we'll get this ship straightened out, and we will get this country back on track when we put the right people in office. And better yet, we stand up, yeah.
I agree. And I will say this. Something's going to happen between now and Election Day that's going to turn the tide in this country, because people need to have that relationship with God that was founded upon by our founding fathers. I mean, George Washington, when he proclaimed Thanksgiving as a holiday, said, we need to do the will of God, to be thankful for his benefits, for what he's done. And he gave God like all the glory for winning that war against England. And we were based on a godly foundation, and that godly foundation seems to have been destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
And unless we get it back, unless we go back to basic principles of right and wrong.
Sure.
I mean...
people have forgotten it. They've
yes,
completely
they
forgotten
have.
it. I could give you 17 different ways that we need to get back to it. But the one ultimate way is, like you said, we need to realize what is right and what is wrong.
Right, exactly.
And just get back to that. You know?
Exactly.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, because that's the only way. Okay, so I mean, we got 5 minutes left, and tell us about what your plans are now that you're a former congressional candidate, and are you going to get involved in politics again? And what was the highlights and the lowlights of your campaign?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny because that's the one question I've been asked quite often
Right.
about in the last since that night.
Right.
And I could tell you, I knew that the night of the election, I thought, okay, no matter what happens, I am taking a break before anything
Right.
happens. So I wound up taking about a week, 10 days, and I needed it. So my thought was, okay, this is going to be fine. And then I got sick, physically sick. Okay, apparently something happened in my stomach the night of the elections. I'm going to tell you because it was kind of it was a letdown. It was.
Of
all right?
course.
Maybe
of
I
course,
drank maybe
of
one
course.
or two tequilas more than I should have.
Okay.
But it got to me, and I thought, wow, I really thought I was going to do better, and that's okay.
Right.
And now people are asking me, I'm like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like, I'm going to rest. I said, because you want to know something? This intrigued me. This country still needs good leaders.
It does. Absolutely.
And like I said, I'm not going to do or say anything yet. I figured if I give myself the rest of the year and then see what happens, because there are people asking me, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Are you thinking, well, I don't know. I know probably going to do something, but the job that I have, which is emergency management, now there's hurricanes. Well, guess who's going to be as busy as a bee right now?
Right, exactly.
So
right.
all of a sudden, I have 5 different companies tell me, and it's never for a second. It's always you got to come for a couple months. I'm like,
right, of course.
Okay, but in the back of my mind, like I said, it's always been in my gut. Maybe we should do something. Let's see if we can fix this. Let's see if we can make this country better. Because listen, we're making history right now.
Yes.
The day that I got on the ballot, I turned to my son, and I said to him, I go, you realize what we just did today? He goes, what? I said, we are making history. Win or lose, we made history. And now we fight for our country. You fight, I fight. This is what we have to do. Tell your friends, we need to do this and get this country right. Lock arms, drag them to the freaking voter boxes, put them in minivans, buses, whatever. Get everybody there and do it. I feel I still can do a part. Not sure what God's plan is for me, because I keep saying that's what's going to be. Whatever that plan is, that's what we're going to do. It was His plan to me to do this. I think I did a great job at it.
Yep.
And I think now the next step is going to be, okay, let me know. Right now, I think I'm on a holding pattern because I need to rejuvenate, maybe get some energy back or whatever you want to call it, and then see where it goes from there.
Now, how can people get in touch with you?
My website's still up. I was told just leave it be for the time being.
Okay.
On my website, my phone number's on there. It's Arianas 2 Congress, or if you want to go technical, Florida. I was in Florida Congressional District 22, so it's flcd22.com. There, you can reach me there. Like I said, my phone number's on the site. Very easily to do because we paid because we're optimistic. We paid to be there until November, so it's there. So yeah, you want to do that. Like I said, anybody who wants to reach out, contact you, man. They want to call me, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I tried to be this way throughout the whole campaign. Just people want to call me, feel free. My number, my phone's always ready to be answered. So unless I'm talking with somebody else, but other than that, I'm more than welcome people to call me.
Well, you know what? In the last minute, I just want to tell you, first of all, I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. I liked your character. I liked the way you handled yourself. I think you did a great job. And I really appreciate you getting behind Dan, because we need to win this seat. We need to turn CD22 red.
Yep.
Because that would turn the Congress red.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do. If we don't win this election, or if the Republicans don't win this election, then we could expect higher inflation, higher prices, a lower stock market, and more IRS agents. And I don't think that's what America needs right now.
Not at all. Not at all.
So Pete, I just want to thank you and appreciate you for not only for what you did, but how you did it, because You know, you said from the beginning, we need to work together.
Yep.
We have to have unity.
Yep.
And I think we need more politicians like that, with that attitude. And I did that in my race too. There was 5 out of 6 of us who agreed, and then there was one, of course, who didn't.
Of course.
You know, there's always one. There's always one who goes the other way and
Sure.
you know, is looking to make it a blood sport. But you didn't do that.
No.
And I appreciate you, and I appreciate the way you ran your campaign and how you handle yourself. And I just want to thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate having me on the show. Like I said, if you need me to come back, I'm more than happy to
Absolutely.
talk.
Yeah, we will definitely have you back again.
Fine.
And we want to thank you for watching the Political Power Hour, where we always have unique guests and unique commentary. Commentary you're not going to get anyplace else but here on the Political Power Hour. So till next week, I'm Michael Vilardi. Thank you for watching.
Text alert! Text alert!
I was receiving letter after letter from the IRS.
I got Mike Vilardi on the phone and I said, Mike, I got a problem.
He took the pressure off my shoulders.
He just made me feel like I had Superman on my side.
Trust me, he's the man to go to.
IRS problems? I'm Mike Vilardi, enrolled agent. I can help. My company, Winning Tax Solutions, has always gotten our clients the best possible results. Visit us at winningtaxsolutions.com or call us today.
I grew up in a home where principles and values were very strong. We had the opportunity to gather 1.5 million people to stand up and be the voice for our children. As an American, I will be your new voice, and I will stand up for the integrity of our children. This November 8th, vote for me, Dorcas Hernandez, running for State Representative District 92.
If your family is suffering from inflation and high costs caused by Lois Frankel's reckless policies, Republican Dan Franzese is clearly your best choice for Congress. Dan is a successful businessman who understands finance and economics. He's not a politician. Dan grew up blue collar and knows how tough inflation is on working families. Dan Franzese will go to Washington and fight the liberals who are killing us with inflation. Dan Franzese for Congress.
I'm Dan Franzese, and I approve this message.